Quinn Ewers says about Texas being in the SEC, we're going to be everybody's biggest game for sure. And with Texas and Oklahoma joining the SEC officially today, I wanted to ask you this. How will Texas fare in the SEC?
This is fascinating, and here's why. They're good enough to beat Alabama in Tuscaloosa. Mm-hmm. They're also average enough to do what they did every year in the Big 12, which is lose to Iowa State or lose to, Texas Tech or somebody that they're much more talented than. I think what's going to happen with Texas, because you got to look, when you look at their Big 12 schedule and results last year, man, they were in some dog fights through three quarters with some teams that they should have been, rolling over. So I'm going to see if that kind of maybe not as tightened to, the screws not as tight as they need to be week in and week out. Does that result in a few upsets that they kind of were able to slide by in the Big 12?
That's a good point, man. I wonder, is it like, are they one of those programs where they just play up to competition and play down to the level of competition as well? Like, are they just not excited when they're playing against certain teams? Because that's something that can bite you in the butt for sure. I do think with Saban leaving Bama, man, I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I gotta wait and see how Bama will be this season, right? I just think when you make such a big change like that in a program with someone who was literally, so vital to the success, I don't know if Bama will be that same, power as they usually are. Obviously, Georgia's still going to be Georgia. I know I'm a fan of Ole Miss. SEC still going to be loaded, but I do think Texas will have a chance to be one of those top teams in the SEC this year, in my opinion, JB.
So JB, Texas gets Michigan in week 2. They're up in Ann Arbor. They get Mississippi State. Let me tell you guys about Mississippi State. Levy is now the head coach. So Mississippi State will be very similar to Ole Miss very soon. Levy's been in Ole Miss. He's been in the state. He knows those kids. So that's going to be a tougher game than people think. Then they're at Oklahoma. Then they get Georgia. They've got Florida in November. They got to go to Arkansas. They got Kentucky coming to town. They end the year at A&M. Start that rivalry back.
Woo! Before I dive into that, I want to get your take on the QB situation in particular. Take a listen to Paul Feinbaum this morning.
We've had to tiptoe around it, but not tiptoeing anymore. We're downright celebrating tonight.
I have no intentions to tiptoe, Paul. Who will be the starting quarterback for Texas at the end of this upcoming season?
That will be Arch Manning. I don't need to tiptoe around that. That is guaranteed. You heard it. And we may even see him a little bit throughout the season.
And so like you said, you agree to that?
100%.
Because of politics or play?
No, because Arch Manning, as highly rated as he was coming out of high school, listen, one of my offensive linemen from my Tulane undefeated teams was the head coach at that little private school right there by Peyton and all them with Newman. So Arch Manning, no matter how celebrated he was out of high school, he was not ready to play consistent quarterback at a big-time program that had conference and college football playoff aspirations. He just wasn't that developed of a player. He's a good athlete, but he still needed development. So this is a perfect scenario for him. You get to go and learn under Sarkisian for 2 years, get bigger, faster, stronger, make all your mistakes in spring game and practice, and then in year 3, he's ready. And if he goes out and has a big year, listen, he'll probably be one and done, be the first pick in the draft because of what his name is. I think this is one of the few programs in college football that's been able to do this. Arch Manning has left every other program because Quinn Ewers came back to school. So if you change the names and look at the programs, like the rest of these guys, I'm not sitting for 2 years. I want to play. So I think it's the perfect scenario here at Texas.
Interesting. But in order for him to play, though, we're assuming that Quinn Ewers is going to shit the bed, though, right?
No, I'm talking about after this year.
No,
I thought he said at the end of the season.
He said by at some point this season he's going to be playing.
Yeah.
This season.
I misread it. I thought he said at the end
No.
of this. Okay.
He said like by the end of the season.
He's
like
saying he is going to replace Quinn Ewers this year.
No, not unless Quinn gets hurt.
Okay, so that's what I want to be clear.
Yeah, okay. Now we're on the same. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Here's my take.
I was talking after this season is over.
Yeah, here's my take on that. Year. My take on this is if Quinn Ewers gets replaced this year, his stock drops huge. His draft stock must have fallen all the way out, and he's one of the guys I think. My good friend Sark, who's a hell of a quarterback guy, I think he's going to train. He's trained these guys, and he'll tell you straight out. He goes, JB, I coach the QB for my system now because if I don't, we're really fucked. Because he knows what I say about developing guys for the NFL, and he's like, I'm gonna be honest, the Mac Jones of the world, having my hands on Jalen just for a hot minute, guys like that. He's like, you got to train them for your system right now because in the NFL, they're either have it or they don't. They either can make the left hash, 35-yard comeback throw, or they can't. Which we just watched those elite guys at Manning camp look like they couldn't. So like he's like, you got to do what you got to do with your guys. So I think he gets Quinn Ewers to play at a high level. I don't know about Manning yet this year, but if he does take over, that means Quinn Ewers fell to the bottom and he's going to get hurt in the draft.
Yeah, let me be clear on in case we put this clip out. Quinn Ewers is going to be the starting quarterback this year at Texas. I think he's going to have a big year. So barring injury, I'm saying Arch Manning will be the starter next year.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, and what he said was Quinn Ewers will start this year as well, but he said that he will be replaced by Manning.
And here's what'll be interesting, JB. I don't know if they're going to have that many blowout games. That's what's going to be nice. That's going to be interesting.
Let me give my take on your question about Texas and Oklahoma entering the SEC. I think it's going to be the epitome of what people consider blue blood, Texas and Oklahoma, to even be considered, to even kind of favor my take the other day about there is no more blue bloods, and this is only going to hurt two blue bloods that we call so-called blue bloods in Texas and Oklahoma. They're going to literally be irrelevant again before they even got a chance to be relevant in this new playoff system. They're going to be irrelevant again. Now, can Texas and Oklahoma make a 12-team playoff? Maybe, but they definitely weren't going to probably be in a 4-team every single year, not being in the SEC. I think the SEC is going to make them irrelevant again before they even really got back on that national limelight stage as being a true blue blood. I think Texas and Oklahoma is the middle of the pack once again. Now, Texas is on a high right now, so I believe Texas is going to be in the hunt for a natty again. I truly do. But sustainability is my thing, Smitty. Being in that conference over some years, I don't know if Texas is just going to – are they going to be the elite SEC team when they haven't been an elite Big 12 team in fucking 20 years? Like, I'm just saying, like, how does that work? Is that because the landscape has shifted that much, like I say? Maybe. Maybe it's watered down. Maybe Texas now can be elite in the SEC. That just tells you a lot, though. Like, I think if you really look at it like that, I don't know, but
I think they had a better chance, JB, if this happened last year. I mean, losing Byron Murphy and T'Vondre Sweat, 2 NFL first-round level defensive tackles. Like, I know Texas has a lot of big bodies, but replacing those guys your first year in the SEC, because to me, that's where the SEC takes its toll. It's the quality and size of the interior line. I mean, in the Big 12, you just don't see that week in and week out. But if you take the results away and just look at how good Mississippi State, Ole Miss, like all those teams' defensive and offensive line has been, to me, that's what the difference is. I mean, that wear and tear on you, man, that adds up going against them big athletic NFL bodies as opposed to in the Big 12 where, Oklahoma State, those different programs, they're not producing NFL caliber linemen on a regular basis.